Welcome to The Table, the podcast where we share real stories, struggles, and victories as we walk together in faith. We're back today with another guest talking about another lie. I am not enough. Not smart enough, pretty enough, detailed enough, thoughtful enough, fill in the blank enough. As we go through this conversation, you'll see that we land on the truth of this lie. I am not enough, but Jesus is. The enemy wants us to feel like we're unworthy, unequipped, and unprepared for whatever it is the Lord wants us to do. But with the leadership of the Holy Spirit, we are equipped for every good work. So, if you're ever questioning whether or not God will complete His work in and through you, remember, as long as you're abiding in Him, you will bear fruit. Apart from Him, we can do nothing. Okay, come on to the table and join us for this week's episode. Hey, Jenna.
Hey.
Hey, we're back again. We have another guest with us this week, Paula. Hi.
Hello.
It's so fun that we have Paula here with us today because we both know her. But Jenna, I'm going to let you introduce her to our listeners.
I don't know life without Paula Harris. She is someone I have looked up to since I was a little girl. She's always been in my life. She's been in my parents' life. Her parents were good friends with my grandparents and my parents. And so Paula was the teenager that I looked up to, whose lap I wanted to sit in. I have grown to love her that way, but also as an adult and as a teacher. She has just been always in my life. I just don't know life without her in it. And she has helped grow my love for Vacation Bible School. She's helped grow my love for the Lord. She's helped me so many times in parenting without even knowing it, but she has been someone that I can seek out for advice. She shows up every single time that something happens in my life. And so I highly recommend her today as our guest onto the table.
Thank you. That is so sweet. I'm just so excited to be with y'all. And I was kind of excited, like, oh gosh, I can be one of the gals at 50 years old.
Like, you're in the club. Yes.
I'm in the club.
Join the club, Paula. Okay, Paula, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I could talk for hours, so we have to limit what I say. So I am, and I'm going to steal this because I know I heard Kenzie Collier, when she was on, she was like, okay, I'm such and such and such and such. So I'm going to start with that. So I am definitely a daughter of the King. I was saved and met the Lord when I was 10 years old at Vacation Bible School. So that's where my love for Vacation Bible School started. I am a student after I am a child and a daughter to the King because I am every day learning. I am a wife. I am a mother. I am a grandmother, or G-Ma, or as Callahan would say now, Paw-Wall. I don't know why he's using my name, but Paw-Wall. To the most perfect little boy ever, Callahan. I have an amazing son-in-law so I'm a mother-in-law as well. I'm also a teacher. So many hats that I love everyone.
We can cut this out if you want me to, but I think it's so sweet that you named Callahan, but your own children, no, you're a mom, you have kids. I love it.
It's awful. It's terrible. But once you're a grandma, you're like, I love them, but where's the kid?
Yeah. That's no.
So bad.
I totally I get that from.
They know.
Yeah.
They know.
Yeah.
Paula, and I have another one due soon. So
I know. Unnamed yet, because we don't know.
Yes, unnamed.
Yeah. So it'll soon be Cal and baby that you are.
Well, I say that, but it'll either be Tatum Joe for a little girl, or Titus Joe for a little boy. So be one of those.
I love it. So you gave us a little bit about who you are, which I have known you for a while. I don't even know how long, Paula. And I know that there are more hats that you wear than even just the ones that you mentioned then. But at least people know a little bit about you. All of our guests answer 3 questions for us when they join us.
Okay.
And so here's the first one. Tell us
Okay.
how you have been feeding your spirit lately. Like in the last couple of weeks, what are some things that have been feeding you spiritually?
So honestly, there are a couple things I've done differently because summer has started where I'm a teacher. You would think I would be out for summer break, but I'm teaching summer school as well. So I have one more week to teach summer school. So in the mornings, normally my summer looks differently. I can sit on the patio, and that's my favorite time. When Marty's either left to go mow or he's still in the bed, and I can sit by myself and I choose a different book to read. So I read like a historical fiction book. So I love historical fiction about women. Like, I just love them. I could do a couple of plugs right there,
Yeah,
Kristen
give us
Hannah.
one.
But
Yeah.
anyway, love them. So I always do something like that to enrich my hear me roar woman in me. And then I choose a new devotion of some sort for the summer, something I would not do during the regular season of my life. So this year I have started listening to more of the Bible Project's podcast and zeroing in on studying more in depth. So if you haven't checked that one out, it is really good. So it's the Bible Project, and that's kind of my go-to in the mornings now. And recently also, and I recommend this to everyone. I have started doing it's not just a gratitude journal because I've done that for many years. But I do a praying for my kids and my grandkids and my family journal. And it's, every once in a while, of course, I throw in people that are not family, but just praying specifically for those in my family, and just building a hedge around them. That's kind of my go-to right now, and I hope that I will continue that, the prayers for my family. But it's a journal, and that way they can see that as well, and I get to look back as well and see how God's hand has walked them through certain situations. So
I
that's my
love that.
go-to.
We'll link the Bible Project podcast for the listeners
Okay.
to be able to find. And it's funny, and I don't know if it was last episode, Jenna, or the episode, I don't know when it was, honestly. They all run together. But you said that people should grab like a pocket calendar. And I have seen so many pocket calendars for people that listen that I'm around. And they're like, yeah, I'm putting my God moments in those. And so now, Paula, I feel like people are going to have prayer journals just for their babies or their family,
Yeah.
that we're adding to
The
the staff.
pocket calendars, yes, the pocket calendars are wonderful for that. Jenna, that's a great idea. That's a really great idea. I started putting that in my phone. So I have notes in my phone and I've broke them down and it's like,
Mhm.
but oh my gosh, I love the pocket calendar.
It's sweet to see them. Okay, second question. How are you finding fellowship with other believers? Like, you've been feeding your spirit. How are you sharing that with other people?
So again, I would say probably the new people that I'm with this summer school. Um, like I know this, it's teachers from different areas that we only have 2 that are in our building right now, that are normally in our building. So I've had conversations that I might not have gotten the chance to ever meet these people before. So had a very interesting conversation with a teacher this morning, very interesting, about differences in religions and how she felt about things. And it was just a nice conversation, just for us to feel free and at liberty. She allowed me liberty to have conversations with her about how I feel and how I see God present himself to me. So that was wonderful. Also, we had that church yard sale. We had a church yard sale this weekend. And I love that day. Shannon and Jeremy and everyone at church just, I mean, like coming together. And as much as even your husband, he so helped us, Catherine. I don't know what we would do without Catherine, your husband, Justin, but meeting the community and just getting to, just getting to see people for who they really are and not just that Sunday morning crowd. It's just amazing every year. I love it. Love it. So that really fed me. And I got to share a lot of us, and our community and how God puts us together. And that was special.
Yeah, that's sweet. Okay, third question. What is something that you are finding forgiveness for? What's something you're having to ask for forgiveness from the Lord for? Just putting you on the spot.
Yeah, you kind of did. But I mean, my mind kind of floods to probably looking at this study and the lies that the devil tells us about ourselves. Probably me looking at those scenarios and those things and not really being more engaged with people that struggle with those things. I feel like I've had to look at this in a different light. And, although I may not struggle with one thing, I may struggle with another thing. And the sensitivity that's needed as a woman, looking at another woman, a mom, a grandmother, a single adult, I feel like I've had to ask for forgiveness of like just having a caring spirit towards those things and not like put your big girl panties on, suck it up, and let's go. So I've had to think a lot about that when Jenna called and asked me about doing this.
Yeah, I can tend to be that way with certain things. Like, I don't really want to, I'm not here to help you with that problem. Like, it's not really a problem. Just suck it up, buttercup. I tell my kids that all the time. That's not very tender
Yeah.
towards them. So I can appreciate those feelings for sure. And I am grateful that you shared with people that you don't even know on the fly like that. So thank you. Jenna, we haven't heard from you in a little bit. I feel like I'm taking over the conversation.
That's
Uh,
okay.
Kick us off. So this lie that we're talking about today is I'm not enough. Tell us, tell our listeners, what are your initial thoughts?
Initially, um, I didn't think this was something that I didn't think about how many people probably struggle with this. But I think the lie is actually I am not blank enough because there's not one of us that can't plug in or fill in a blank right there. I am not pretty enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not studied enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not fill in the blank enough. And this is something that is just part of us as humans. We're conditioned now to believe that everything's on social media, everything is documented, and it is really easy to fall into the lie or the trap that we're not enough. And it's just not the truth.
I wasn't planning to share this, but you made me think. I was listening to a podcast a couple days ago, and I'll link it. So good. I love Jackie Hill Perry and her husband. They have a podcast.
Oh,
So good.
yes.
This week's is about being a woman in the home, essentially. If I had a better memory, I could tell you what it's really called. But that's the gist of it. And I was listening to it. It was so good, and I was just finishing it up. And I had this thought come into my head. She was talking about like stewarding your home well and not being lazy and like tending to the people and how that's against our nature because we just care about ourselves and blah blah blah. And I had this thought that was like, oh, I'm not being a good enough mom because I'm not tending to my home. I'm not a stay-at-home mom.
I'm a working mom and I'm not treating my family the way that I should. And that's something I've struggled with in the past, and it took me a long time to get to the point where I was like, nope, God has called me to the things that I'm doing now. He has opened doors and closed doors for me to be exactly where I am. And I literally thought to myself in that moment, I'm choosing not to believe the lie that I am not enough because my life doesn't look like this person's or this person's. Like, God has given me, and she even says this. She says, God has given you your babies to raise them with your personality and in your environment that He's put you in. And so, I think you're right. I think we all believe at some point, generally, we're not enough. I'm not good enough at this. I'm not good enough at that. But also, like, you could put any word in there that you think you're just not good enough. And so I'm glad that we're having this conversation, and I'm glad that we have the two of you here to share some insight with a little bit more lived experience with kids in different age ranges than I own, with our listeners. Paula, what were your initial thoughts for this laugh?
So I kind of went back and forth on this too, and I too kind of thought like Jenna, I'm like, okay, what exactly is the whole big picture of the lie? And so I just started praying. I'm like, God, zero in on this for me. Like, show me a story, show me something in my life that I can relate to. And see, like, the tears already start coming because I kind of went back all the way to, I went back to high school, like, and the route that my life has taken. And although I don't think I've ever really straight up thought, I'm just not enough, in my brain, but the life that I have transpired through, obviously, looking back, there were stages where I thought that, and look, girls, look at this. This is all, I mean, like, there's 3 pages, okay? I mean, and I asked God, which I'm ELA teacher, like, I love to write. So, I mean, I went over the story that was on your list to go over, so I'm not going to hit it, but Moses' mom, and, did some digging on her and, how she felt about her babies and about her baby and she was, the mom of 3 kids, not just Moses. But anyway, all that being said, I think ultimately, I feel like throughout my life, looking back, I never felt like I was detailed enough. I never felt like I really paid attention to the dot in the I's and the cross in the T's enough, because I mean, the short version, I was engaged to be married before Marty, and I honestly prayed about whether or not how in depth I needed to get on this. But so I was engaged before Marty to a sergeant in the Army. And again, this came because I had my absolute heart broke from my high school sweetheart. And I just felt like nothing God could do for me would help me, because I wasn't worthy of anything. If I wasn't worthy of this boy, then I was not enough for anyone. So I went away to school. Long story short, I looked for a love in a lot of places. And God continued to show up. Like, He just continued to show up in my tribe around me and bringing me out of situations. I drank like a fish. I mean, just like a fish, because I didn't want to remember. And, I think that we're kind of closed off on that. We don't want people to know those things. But I mean, it's part of my story. Like, I was quite the drinker and didn't care about much. And during that time, I can remember feeling like if I only went back home, like I could leave Western, I could go back home, and maybe then I could feel loved. I could feel like my parents are crazy about me. And, I could feel that. But I didn't listen. He put people in my life that to this day, I know, like the story. I don't know how in depth you're going to get of Moses's mom, but I mean, the people that were her midwife, the midwives that were involved, that story, she had a tribe of women around her that God just improvised and did things to get her where he needed her. And so he did that for me in the time that I felt like I was not worth anything. Was engaged to be married and came back home and became friends with this tribe that I'm talking about. And we all worked downtown at Lifeway Christian Bookstore. He put me downtown working from Hendersonville, which was unheard of then. At my age, you didn't drive downtown to work. You worked somewhere local, And Marty started working there. We became really good friends. And this boy that I was engaged to was verbally abusive. It was awful. He was awful. And I can remember the night that we had gone out and I was standing in his apartment, and I remember him looking at me and saying, Paula, if you walk out that door, we're done. It's over. We're done. And I just turned around and I said, okay. And I got in the car, and I remember specifically hearing God's voice to my heart say, don't look back. Don't look back. And I didn't. I didn't. And that was the first time that I really felt like at that time in my life that God was saying, I've got you. Like, you are so much stronger than you think you are. You are stronger. Because I'd left so many times before, and always we got back together. So the very next day, I went to work and got to work, and Marty came around the corner just like he always did. We were good friends. He hugged me, said good morning, and I felt like I was going to throw up. I was like, oh gosh, I've got to go out with you. I need you. Like, it was all over me. And then that next week, he met me in the music area, and he said, hey, I want to go see the lights at Opryland. And I said, okay. That tells you how old I am too. Anyway, so I said, okay, that's fine, and he said, no, I don't want to go as friends. If you don't want to go just as friends, if you want to go just as friends, then I don't want to go. And I was like, I want to go. I want to go. And I remember, the rest is history. We were engaged in 3 months and married in 6. But I just remember, the feeling of feeling like I was stronger than I thought I was. And there were lots of other ugly stuff that happened with this boy. Like, it was not over. He was very ugly, but I had the strength at this point to walk through those things. And that was probably the first time in my life that I recognized God telling me I could do something. Like, which is sad because I grew up in the church, but that was the first time that I recognized it. It was a very eye-opening time in my life. And his hand has definitely done the same thing for me many times. when you were talking about being at home, Catherine, I did choose to stay at home with my girls, but we didn't have the best of anything. Like we had supper every night, and my girls were always dressed cute, and we had what we needed, but we didn't have the boats, and we didn't have the big houses and all that, and we made that our choice. So when I was called to go back to work, I mean, I knew it. My girls were third grade and fifth grade, I think. And I knew that I was called to go back to work. I did not feel equipped for that. I had spent many years with friends that had the big jobs and had the big houses, had the boats, and never felt like I was quite, I would kind of sit back and just listen to their stories and, of course, try to interject some, but not much, because I didn't feel like I was as worthy as them, like I don't have those things. So that was another time that, God showed me throughout that time in my life, little bits and pieces. He would remind me, hey, you're with me. I have you. And some of these didn't have God. And so he would remind me to share that. So I feel like probably I've seen his hand throughout my life. And now I'm in a different season than I was when I was more insecure about the power that is within me now. I feel really strongly about the power that lies within me now. And I feel like that helps with not feeling like I'm enough.
Yeah. As you were talking, I was thinking about like, where does this lie come from? And I have a thought. I think it comes when we compare ourselves to other people. That's when we start to believe like, oh, I'm not this. I don't have, like, as I'm listening to you talk about those people with houses, I'm like, I do work a full-time job and I do not live in a big house. Um, and we have dinner, but it's like, you know, mac and cheese or grilled cheese or something. But I think that could be a place when you're comparing yourself, and I think that's, you talked about how social media, or maybe that was you, Jenna, talking about social media and how we think we need all of these things all the time and to do all of these things, but we actually don't. Um, Jenna, tell us a time when have you felt this um lack of enough?
Probably when the Lord called me to homeschool. I was a teacher. I went to school to be a teacher, so I should be able to teach. Like, I taught kindergarten for 2.5 years, and I thought that's where I love school. Like, I love school lunches. I love being in a classroom. And I sent my firstborn son to kindergarten because that's what you do. And I was probably more excited than he was to send him and to watch him go. But throughout that year, the Lord just kept bringing stuff up to my attention to remind me that this is not where he's supposed to be. But I never, ever considered homeschooling until around Christmas break. Daniel was at home and he said, Mom, didn't you used to be a teacher? And I said, yes. And he said, well, why can't you be my teacher? And it was almost like the Lord hit me upside the head. Like, I don't have the strength within myself to homeschool. Like, I've been doing it for how many years now? How old is Daniel? Almost 11 years. And I don't have the strength within myself. I will never be enough on my own to do the things that he's called me to. And I think that's the point that I think we really need to make here, is that we're not strong enough on our own to accomplish these goals or even these tasks, or just something like homeschooling. Like, I can't do that on my own, just like Paula can't do. She couldn't get through out of this relationship on her own and start a new one where the Lord wanted her without the Lord. None of this is possible. I am not strong enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not schooled enough to do anything without the Lord's help. And all of these lies that we're believing, they're self-centered. They're looking at ourselves. We're pointing the finger back at ourselves, and we're becoming self-focused, which is what happened to me when the Lord said, you're going to homeschool. No, I'm not. I'm not adequate. I'm not. Yes, I was. He had already prepared me. He had given me the education, and now he was calling me to something else. And that focus and that self-centeredness that I had shifted to being Christ-centered and Christ-focused. And so when we're looking and believing lies or thinking about things, they're often perfection-driven, they're performance-based, and they're self-centered. And so if you're wrapped up in those things, the truth of those is that we have to be Christ-centered and Christ-focused on all these things, and they've got to be grace-based. And we have to surrender these callings, these areas of our lives where we feel like we're not enough. We have to surrender them to our Creator, who loved us enough to send his own son to die on our behalf so that I can be enough through him. And so I think in that moment of homeschool, the Lord calling me to homeschool, and now that I'm doing it all these years later, I'm still not good enough at this. I still don't have the strength in me to pull this off. It's only because the Lord is calling me to it and providing me the grace and strength that I need every day to continue. I'm only good enough because of Jesus Christ.
Okay, quick thought before I say, the important stuff. I think you just made so many homeschool moms feel seen. As you talk about that calling, and so many people are going to just feel those same feelings. But I think the other thing I've been thinking about while you're talking is like, this is a lie, but not exactly in the way that I think we've talked about the lies in the past. Like, the truth is, I'm not enough. I'm absolutely not enough. I absolutely cannot do this. But to believe that and to not believe that the Holy Spirit will give me what I need to accomplish the things that I'm called to, that is the lie. The lie is that He will not give me what I need to do the things He called me to. And that is hard. I think we can, I don't know how many times we've said this verse on the podcast, but His strength is made perfect in our weakness. And He gives us those weaknesses as an outlet for His strength and a way for us to show other people the work that He's doing in us. And so I'm glad that you made that point. We did have like a story in the Bible that talks about this. There are so many. I feel like there are so many. Where the person who is being called to something says, nope, pause, don't think so. I don't think you got the wrong person. I don't want to do this. Or can you give me 15 signs so I know for sure that you're actually calling me to this? But the one that we were going to talk about is Moses' mom. And so, Paula, you want to give us like the elevator pitch of that story and just some of your thoughts?
Well, I love this story because Jochebed is, I listened to another podcast that had some of this story in it, but I love it. And I'm going to tell you the beauty that I love as first, okay? First and foremost, that Pharaoh wanted all the boys dead, okay? So we are going to assume that none of the listeners really know all the stories in the Bible. So we're going to go from get-go. So Pharaoh wanted to kill all of the boys, okay? That in itself is interesting because he said, nope, leave the daughters alone. Just kill the boys, because he was worried that they were going to rise up and be like just this massive army to take them out. And it's so ironic and so amazing that he took this mama. Like, that's amazing that he used this mama, and she had the baby boy, had Moses, and then she had help, like to put this baby in this little basket for safety, and knew what to do. And there's so many depictions here Like you could talk about how deep it gets with Noah and the ark and kind of reflecting on that. But anyway, so she had faith that God was going to protect her son. That, if you are a mama, wow. Like, wow. She stuck him in the water.
In a basket.
And
In the water.
yes, in a basket.
Yes.
Yes. And the digging that I've done says that there really was probably a lid on it. She created a lid too, so that was okay. Which makes you even wonder, like, were there tears because Pharaoh's daughter's handmaid found the baby? There's the other connection. Like, what in the world? We got this little tribe of women that are like, okay, let's take care of this baby and get the baby. Then Pharaoh's daughter says, hey, find somebody to nurse this kid. The fact that her daddy told her all these boys need to be dead and she was ready to risk it all. I mean, you can't tell me that God didn't have a hand in her heart as well on that. Mm-hmm. You know, I know we don't know where she stood as far as God goes, but that, I mean, he was working some bad for good right there, big time. And then that she got paid. Pharaoh's midwife found Jochebed back and is like, nurse the baby. And I just wonder if maybe she had a little bit of intuition that was his mom. You know, if there was some, you know, we, as women, there's chatter, you know, so I wonder, or if God just said, this is the girl to her heart, and she just knew where she was walking, you know? But anyway, to get to nurse your child and to be paid for it, like,
pretty sweet.
I mean, yes, so sweet. I love the fact that she had faith in God. She delivered this baby boy and wanted a life for him because she knew that God saw him, you know? Mm-hmm. And I just feel like that's the power that we as women forget that we have. If you know God and you know him, he lives within you, that power to do the hard things, that's where the enough comes from. We can't be enough without that power behind us because it's not us. It's Christ who lives within us, you know? So just a beautiful picture. That was a great choice on the stories. I love that story.
That was a great summary. It's almost like you're a Sunday school teacher or something who teaches these stories to kids. It's so ironic too, because Pharaoh wanted all those baby boys gone because he didn't want this army to rise up, and that very baby boy was the one who was going to lead them out and take his people out of Egypt and out from under Pharaoh. And so it's a sweet, sweet story. I think you're right. We could go like 17 different directions and learn so many things from that, but what a sweet, I'm glad it's in there. It's like one of those stories that you want. I wanted more information, to be honest, but I'm glad that it's included so that we can use it as an example for us.
Yeah.
Jenna, what are your thoughts?
Well, although her name is not named, Jochebed is mentioned in Hebrews chapter 11 in the faith chapter. It says, by faith Moses, when he was born, was hidden 3 months by his parents because they saw he was a beautiful child, and they were not afraid of the king's command. Like, she wasn't worried about being enough. She trusted that God was enough and that God was going to take care of him. I love that. But then flip it around. When Moses grew up, he got stuck in the I'm not adequate enough. I'm not well spoken enough. Why would you call me? It can't be me. Like, we all are going to face moments where we feel like we're not enough. And I think we have to stop looking at ourselves. Like Moses had to be told by God, stop looking at yourself. I'm going to take care of you. And he provided his brother to step in and help, to be his mouthpiece for him. I just love this story because it's so intricate and it all goes back to the Lord's plans are perfect and He's enough when we are not.
I love that.
Yes.
You're exactly right. Is there anything in your notes, either one of you, that we haven't said yet today that you want to share?
I mean, I just had a couple of scriptures that
Please.
I wrote down that I actually thought, you know what, I'm going to find a way to put these around. I think it's just, I know it sounds like I'm repeating myself, but I just feel like sometimes we just, you tell your kids, or I told my kids, when they would start the pouting and it's just not fair kind of stuff and all that. I would just say, if you would just get your eyes off of yourself and on everybody else, you're not going to see that you're troubled. Like, get that out of your head. Like, worry about somebody else's problems. Pray about their problems. Like, let's just stop thinking about what's going on with you right now, because you're just pouting. And I just think that's the key. If we remember God's power within us, we're going to be more concerned about helping other people with that power, and we won't be concerned about not being enough. Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are God's handiwork." That's a good one. Created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us. He had us. Ephesians 3:20. Now, this one I love. Now to him who is able to do far more abundantly than all we ask or think, according to the power within us. Like, how bad you want it? You wanna do those things and go back to school? You got power to do those things. God's got you if He wants it in His plan. And then the other one that I had circled was Proverbs 16:4. The Lord has made everything for its purpose, even the wicked for the day of trouble. Like, everything has a purpose. That's us too.
Hmm. There's almost freedom in that. There's almost freedom as believers to know that, like, I can't do any of these things, but I don't have to. Like, if it's what He wants me to do, He's going to make a way. He's going to give me what I need, and He's going to provide all the things that I need to get there. And
Yes.
I cheat myself out of getting to walk in that freedom when I start to think, man, I can't do this, or I don't have it in me today, or I'm not equipped for this. Fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Jenna,
Yeah.
any notes we didn't talk about? Anything you got?
Nope.
No.
That's good.
Thank you so much, Paula, for being here with us.
Thank y'all for having me.
It's going to be really good. I'm excited for our listeners to get to hear this, and then we will continue on next week. We'll talk about this a little bit more. So thank you guys both.
You're welcome. Love you,
Thank you.
girls.
Love you.
Love you too.
Thanks for coming to the table. We hope today's conversation encouraged you as you seek Jesus in the big moments and the little ones. You'll find all the resources we mentioned today in the show notes. Feel free to share this episode, leave a comment, ask a question, or share your thoughts with us. Join us next week as Jenna and I continue the conversation about lie number 2, I am not enough. Consider the ways that the crafty enemy is trying to convince you that you're not enough. We're praying that you walk in the freedom that Christ has called us to, and know that if He is working in you, He will accomplish His will. If you haven't already, go follow us on socials to see all the things we share throughout the week. We'll see you next time.